The fourth reaction for an acid is when an acid reacts with ammonia and it's going to produce an ammonium salt. Now, what's an ammonium salt? That's the first thing that we're going to discuss. What is an ammonium salt? So, I told you that a salt would be formed when, for example, if you have an acid, example HCl, and you get rid of the hydrogen and you replace it with a metal, for example NaCl. It's going to form NaCl. Now, this is a normal salt. An ammonium salt is that you have HCl and you end up replacing that HCl with not a metal but an NH4 plus ion. So it's going to become NH4 plus and Cl minus 1. Now this is an ammonium salt. This is ammonium chloride specifically. So it's ammonium chloride. So remember, an ammonium salt is when you get rid of the H in the acid and put an ammonium ion instead in its place. So that's an ammonium salt. Now I'm going to do a simple reaction first. I'm going to take sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4. We start off with sulfuric acid and I react it with ammonia. Now what's going to happen is that the hydrogen in the sulfuric acid is going to get replaced. So I'm going to replace it with ammonium, which is 1 plus, and SO4 is 2 minus. So there would be 2 ammonium ions, and this would be ammonium sulfate. So this salt produced is called ammonium sulfate. So that's one example. And similarly, in exactly the same way, when you move to carboxylic acid, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Let's take the simplest carboxylic acid. I'm going to take methanoic acid. I'm going to do the reaction with methanoic acid. Now remember, methanoic acid only has 1 carbon atom, so there's going to be a carboxylic acid functional group, and to complete the bonds there's going to be a hydrogen over here. I'm going to react it with ammonia, and the hydrogen that's going to get displaced is the carboxylic acid functional group hydrogen. This hydrogen is going to get displaced and it's going to be displaced with an ammonium ion. So this would be the methanoate ion that would be formed, and instead of the hydrogen I'll have an ammonium ion next to it. So that's an ammonium ion, and this salt would be called ammonium methanoate. So this is ammonium methanoate. In exactly the same, I'm going to write down the compressed notation now for the same reaction. The compressed notation is going to be this would be H C double O and then H, plus it is reacting with NH3, and the salt that would be produced is going to be HCOO minus and NH4 plus. So that's my salt, and that's the compressed notation. We can do one more example. Let's do an example with a slightly more complicated molecule of carboxylic acid. Let's say I have a carboxylic acid which looks like this. C double bond O and H. Now they're going to draw different random structures in your exams just to try and confuse you. Now this is the benzene ring. It's a very popular structure in organic chemistry. It's present in a lot of molecules. You can Google it and you can go into some detail about the benzene ring, but they're going to give you different structures which you're not familiar with. But you are familiar with this carboxylic acid functional group. So remember, deal with the structure that you're familiar with. Now I'm going to react it with NH3. And the same thing is going to exactly happen. This hydrogen in the carboxylic acid functional group is going to get displaced. So this is my benzene ring, and if you're not familiar with it, you don't need to deal with it. You just need to know that this is some random structure that the examiner has given you, and you're going to do what you know. Get rid of the H in the carboxylic acid and substitute that with an ammonium ion. So this is your salt. This is your salt that would be produced in this case. If the examiner, the name of this compound is benzoic acid. If the examiner has given you, he might ask you to name the salt. Now remember, whenever a salt is formed, the carboxylic acid changes into an O8. The suffix changes. So it's going to become ammonium benzo 8. So remember, whenever you're naming the salt, the carboxylic acid molecule, the suffix changes. It changes into O8. So if it's benzoic acid, it's going to become benzoate. So you can easily name a molecule that you're not familiar with, that the structure you can't identify, but you know that it's a carboxylic acid. So you can write down the reaction in this case as well. I'm now going to do one last reaction of, let's say I'm going to take propanoic acid, and propanoic acid has 3 carbon atoms, and there's going to be a carboxylic acid group on both sides, on both ends of the carboxylic acid functional group. So this is what propanoic acid is going to look like. There are 2 carboxylic acid functional groups, and the rest of the bonds I'm completing using hydrogen, and I'm going to react it with NH3. Now the salt is going to be produced, the ammonium salt is going to be produced in exactly the same way. The 2 hydrogens in the carboxylic acid functional group are going to get displaced. They're going to get displaced, and this would be my propandioate ion. So that's C double bond O minus 1, drawn without the 2 hydrogen ions. And I have these hydrogens. So there's going to be an NH4 plus ion on this side, and there's going to be another NH4 plus ion on this side. So that would be my ammonium salt that would be produced. I'm going to replace the hydrogen ions with the ammonium ions. So that's how all salts of carboxylic acids are going to be produced. So this is the last reaction. Ammonia plus a carboxylic acid is going to give you ammonium salt.